This is episode number 8 with vegan chef, motivational speaker, and certified integrative nutrition health coach, Haile Thomas, discovering health and happiness. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Jordan, young entrepreneur, #1 best-selling author, international speaker, mentor, and your proud host of the UV Effect podcast, where each week my industry-leading and thought-provoking guests and I will be sharing motivational advice, insightful tips, and inspiring stories that will help you to define your personal and professional unique value and discover the effects it can have on your life and the lives of others. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome. I'm glad that you decided to join me for another episode of the UV Effect. And I'm especially glad because this is kind of a type of inaugural episode in the sense that we have our very first young entrepreneur on today. Yay! Haile Thomas, 16-year-old youth advocate, vegan chef, certified integrational nutrition health coach, just to make sure I say that right, motivational speaker, CEO of the Happy organization. The list goes on and on. This young lady is amazing. If you know about my Excel Youth Mentoring Institute, I actually had a show on YouTube called Excel with Gabrielle. And on that show, I actually interviewed adult entrepreneurs as well as youth entrepreneurs, and Haile was one of my guests there. So when I talked to her on that show, she was really, really great. And I thought when I was getting up this new podcast and discussing, who I wanted on the show, Haile was definitely on the list, on the top of the list to be on the show and be a guest on the show. And so I'm so excited and so happy for you guys to hear her story and hear what she has to share because she's incredible. It really did start with talking about her background, how she got to this place, and a big part of that was because of her father was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and as you'll hear in the interview, the types of changes that they had to make in their family in order to actually reverse the diabetes within a year without medicine. So you're going to hear that, and that's really incredible. And she also just talks about the kind of the work that she does, the programs that she has for both, mostly for kids. That's what she does with the Happy organization. But she also really inspires and really motivates change in adults' lives as well. I think it's really inspiring to see what she does at such a young age, and how accomplished she really is. I mean, just recently she was introducing Chelsea Clinton at a big event for a magazine a little while ago, and that's because she had served on the Clinton Foundation's Alliance for Healthier Generations Youth Advisory Board for 3 years. And that was, I believe, 10 to 12. So from 10 years old to 12 years old, she served on the Clinton Foundation's Youth Advisory Board. I mean, that's incredible. This young lady definitely is doing so much for youth. She's doing so much for adults. She's just really doing so much to help promote healthy change in the world. We discuss about some of the issues that affect young people when it comes to health, the issues that we have with food and how we kind of look at it as an enemy in the sense of whether we eat too much or we eat too little. And she discussed, how to kind of look at food in the way that it should be looked at as something that's helpful and something that, of course, is necessary. And when you eat it in the right way, when you make sure that you don't look at food as so much as like a task, but rather as she puts, something that's fun to do and interesting. We talk about those things and we kind of hopefully help young people to kind of see a different light of food and help them to kind of, get in a better light with food and start working with it in a sense where it's more fun and enjoyable. But yes, we talk about quite a bit of things in this interview, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear her. She's very knowledgeable. She's very smart and very, I would say, inspiring, definitely with her story and with what she has to share. But before we get into this interview, I wanted to remind you, or let you know, actually, to check out the new Gabrielle Jordan Inspires site. It's all redone, all beautied up. It's really nice. And check out the podcast page where you can see Haile's interviews as well as past interviews, as well as see where you can find us on to subscribe to us to the UV Effect podcast, as well as subscribe to myself on Instagram and Twitter. You can see all those things on the new website. I love it so much. It's really, really nice. I think that you'll love it as well. So I just want to make sure that you check that out and see what's going on over there. All right, so let us get into this episode of the UV Effect with Haile Thomas. Let's go. Welcome, Haile. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you on the show. I'm excited to hear more about your story and have my audience hear about your story and what you have to share. But of course, before we get started in what you do as Haile Thomas, as Happy organization, I want to talk about kind of where you got started, how things started for you. Now, you are a health coach. You are a youth activist for health. You do a lot with health. But I want to know what your health journey was like, or what it was like before you kind of got on this journey. How did you eat before? What was your diet like before all of this?
Yeah, well, for me, my parents are Jamaican, so we always just ate really delicious, rich and heavy foods, and so oftentimes it was like oxtail or curry goat or, jerk chicken or...
I have a Canadian parent, so I understand that.
Yeah, so just a lot of really delicious food, but not the healthiest, and vegetables were usually like the smallest portion on the plate, and so having that, it was fun flavor-wise, but we really didn't realize, what that translated to as in nutrition and all of those things until my dad got type 2 diabetes. So having that background of food, we really already knew how to cook, but just, not how to utilize vegetables in the best way possible and to make healthy things taste really good. And so when he got the diagnosis, we kind of, as a family, decided that we wanted to switch around what we were eating and potentially, add the flavors that we love to healthier ingredients and foods. And so doing that was a lot of fun. Just, instead of doing curry goat, we would do like curry lettuce wraps and things like that. So we would kind of twist up the things that we loved and the flavors we enjoyed. And it definitely shifted and helped a lot. We were able to, reverse his type 2 diabetes without medication, just making those changes and enjoying the process as well.
I mean, your dad going through that and having type 2 diabetes, that must have been really scary for you, especially as a kid. And you saying that your family just decided to switch everything and figure out how can we make things healthier. I wanted to know, what was that process like for, that reversal, trying to figure out how to get into this healthy eating habit, how to make things taste better. What was that process like? Was it an easy process? Was it difficult?
I think the process, it seemed overwhelming at first, but I think when you really want somebody to get better and you don't want them to have to take medications with crazy side effects and you know that there's a better alternative, it can be as easy as you want it to be and as easy as you make it and as fun as well. And so that's what our family did. We just embraced the process and knew that it was important and necessary, and kind of evaluated where we were and where we wanted our entire family to be, and of course for our dad to get better. And so really we just educated ourselves so much. We watched documentaries and read all of the books that ever existed on nutrition and food at the time, and we just applied those tips and things that we learned to our lives. And even now, thinking about it, like, we're so much healthier now, and it's interesting to see like the levels of health and how just even taking that one little step helps so significantly. And now we're like vegan, so if we had taken that step then, it would have been even easier. But seeing the different levels of how your health can improve and where you can be is really interesting too. But just taking the next step was enough to make him get better. And so, taking that process as a family was really impactful too. I think if he was doing it on his own, it wouldn't have been as easy, but having, a support system throughout the whole process really made it something that everyone enjoyed, and we loved seeing him get better and eventually completely get rid of it.
And how long was that process, or for his diabetes to be reversed? How was that? How long was that process?
Yeah, it was about like 1 year. About
Oh,
1 year,
wow.
we reversed it, and it was very early stages, and we were just able to implement everything that we had learned immediately, and that caused a lot of change.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. So as I was kind of just hearing your story now, and also knowing you and knowing your story, um, you really do have like this talent for like making healthy eating fun. I watch your YouTube channel, and to see the kind of things that you create is very creative and very fun and very interesting. I really like what you do.
Thank
But
you.
you also are really good, I think, with kind of helping people see how they can implement it into their lives, like how it's very possible to implement it, because I have been working tirelessly off and on, trying to kind of develop a better eating habit, and trying to eat less meat and eating more vegetables and doing these things. And of course sometimes I slip, and sometimes I do pretty good, but I know you are definitely one of the inspirations for me, for seeing that it is possible to eat healthier, seeing that it's not as difficult as it might seem. And I think that's really a talent of yours, and I think that's really, really cool that you are able to do that for people. So I want to know. I mean, I would say that's a big part of Happy, because of Happy Organization, which is your company, where you actually teach about healthy eating to youth, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
I want to know more about that. Yeah.
yeah, just as you said, for me, it's never really approachable to eat healthy unless you see examples that are easy and simple and actually look like they taste good, or, you experience it tasting good. And so for our organization, basically, the premise of it is to educate on nutrition, but also tie in the food aspect, because, you can tell kids, show them how to count calories or to read food labels, but at the end of the day, if they're not able to tie that back to making their own dishes or meals at home, or even showing their parents how to do that, then it's going to be very difficult to implement all of these things that you've learned. So for us, we just focus on plant-based nutrition education and culinary education in schools and during summer camps, and we do school tours sometimes across the country. And so just providing that information, but then reinforcing it with food is so important, because the kids can connect the dots, and that's really what happened with me at home. I saw the problem and I saw a solution. I learned about these things, and then it was applied to my life through food as well. So that's really the premise of everything that we do, is just making sure that it's not ever boring, or there's a spot that's missing, or we make sure that all the information that we let kids know about is straightforward and real, and then we show them how to make their favorite foods healthier, or here's an alternative, instead of just taking everything that they love away from them, like chips are terrible for you, soda that's cancer, and then not giving them a solution. So we just want to make sure that they know that there's something better and tasty as well.
And I think that is really important. I'm wondering, as you were sharing about what you're doing with Happy, I was wondering, how did you get from the point where you and your family changed your diet, turned to vegan, to where you are now? How did you start Happy? What really inspired you to start Happy? Was it because of what happened with your family? And when was that turning point when you thought, hey, let me do this thing where I can pass the things that I've learned through this really difficult situation onto some kids that maybe you want them to avoid that situation as well. So what was that point? How did you kind of decide to start?
Yeah, so after reversing his condition, I really just wanted to share all the information that I had with, my friends and other peers, and I wasn't really sure how to do that in the right way. At first, when you're really young, you have all this information and a huge success, like, especially about food, sometimes it can just come off a little bit overbearing.
Yeah.
At school, you know, if I saw my friends with unhealthy foods, I would freak out and they, you know, just think I'm weird.
Right.
But, you know, I realized that wasn't really the approach that I was guided through learning about all of these things, and it was more through the fun and educational and loving way, rather than kind of putting people down for their food choices, just because I wanted to share the information. So from that point, I was just looking for some organization to maybe join and just help, honestly, have a platform or a community that I could go to for help, because I really didn't know where I wanted to start with. And so when I was about 10, I found the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and they had a youth advisory board at the time, and so I just applied for that, and it was this whole process, but I was accepted. And so from there, they really extensively educated me about the whole childhood obesity crisis, and, you know, kids getting type 2 diabetes and heart disease, and those were all the things that I had learned at home, but now I was able to kind of have something to back me up, and somebody to say, here's an event that maybe you can speak at. And so they really introduced me to going to health conferences and talking, and they gave me those opportunities. And once I kind of realized that was something I loved to do, I just kind of ran with it, and each of those events and opportunities just snowballed into the other. So starting from there, for a couple of years, I was just doing that and cooking demonstrations in my community and going on TV shows. I did a partnership with Hyatt Hotels for a few years. And it was a lot of fun, but I had realized that it just wasn't the peer-to-peer type of connection and interaction that I wanted initially, and what worked for me. I think when you learn hands-on and, you know, you're able to be guided through it, it's a lot easier to adapt whatever concepts you're learning to your own life. So basically, I just kind of went to my mom and noticed that there was a gap in my community and even across the country for affordable or free education about these things. And I think it's definitely a birthright to know what's in your food and where it comes from, and then also know how to make a healthier choice. So I went to my mom and we just kind of brainstormed together about maybe what we could do and put together, and it ended up being an organization as the idea, and so we just really went for it. So now it's been about 4 years and 8,000 kids later through the organization, and it's really been amazing just to see the individual impact that we can make and how that's affected so many more people just because of one kid learning about, you know, what's in their food.
Right, and I think that's amazing what you said, how before you would go, you know, to the conferences and you would go to, you know, on TV and do partnerships and things like that. But it still wasn't as fulfilling as really being able to reach people one-on-one, to reach young people and to really talk to them right there in their faces. And I think that's really incredible that you decided to choose a path that may, you know, for most people might seem it's not as glamorous, you know, whatever it is, but you would choose to do something where it's more about other people than about getting your face, you know, everywhere, plastered everywhere. I think that is really incredible that you decided to make that choice, because I think a lot of people, even when it comes to finding what it is that they love, what their passion is, what their unique value is, if you're faced with the choice of either being seen everywhere, all over the place, or being able to reach just one person, most people would choose everywhere. I want everybody to see me. And I think that's incredible that you decide to kind of go over with this side where you're reaching people one-on-one, 8,000 on one. But it's something that you love more, and I think that's also really big. People choosing what is it they love more rather than what's the more glamorous side. I just wanted to say that because I think that is really, really cool that you went over there and did something that most people probably would not choose to do. So I do want to talk a little bit about one, how you just recently were certified as a nutrition health coach, right?
Yes, integrative nutrition certified health coach, yeah.
That is so cool. And, you're really young. You're 16 years old, right?
Yes, 16. Yeah. So far, or as of right now, I'm the youngest graduate and was the youngest student. So, Yeah, that whole experience, it was a year-long training program, and it was really amazing. I mean, I got to learn a lot of things just more in depth about where people can be coming from their eating habits and the other outer effects on health that are not even related to food, like your environment and your work life, and if you're doing what you love, and your relationships, and all of those things, how that can affect health as well. And it just really kind of gave me a 360 view of health in general. And also, it's a really great kind of credibility that I've gained now that, I have like a certification.
Right.
So,
It is good.
yeah, it's really awesome that I was able to do that, and to hopefully inspire other young people to kind of go for those things, because I definitely didn't know if I was going to be able to get in, because you had to have a diploma and be 18 and all of that. But definitely just having allies who believe in you. I know Deepak Chopra, he kind of recommended me to the founder of the school, and Deepak Chopra, he's been a really huge mentor for me over the years. So just having that one person believe in what I'm doing and spread the word on really, really helped. And, the whole integrative nutrition community is really amazing. So it's been really cool to be the youngest, for sure.
And I was actually going to ask, as you were talking about, not really sure if you were even going to get in before. I know being in a field like where it's mostly taken up by doctors and other health coaches and nutritionists that have PhDs or whatever it is, a lot of people that have been doing it for a lot of years. And I was wondering, have you ever been faced with people that maybe have underestimated you, or even when you underestimated yourself? And what did you kind of do to get through that? And what do you do now, even if you face it now?
Yeah, honestly, I have mostly been faced with a lot of support for everything that I do, and even from experienced people, because they realize that this is like a market that they necessarily can't relate to or talk to, the kids and youth aspect. So I think it's cool to be supported in that way. But very, very early on, I had a doctor lady, just say I didn't really know what I was talking about. And I definitely didn't know as much as I know now, but I definitely knew enough to share information with everybody. And at the time, I didn't even have the nonprofit or anything, but that was really the only type of, degrading situation where they were taking what I was doing and making it seem like something it wasn't. Yeah, I think honestly, I've really been lucky to just do good and receive a lot of good feedback from that, and a lot of great support. And like I said, I think a lot of people in the health community just want everyone to get better and to learn. And so I think for me, I'm just another kind of beacon for this message.
And I think that's really wonderful that you have, even though you've had a lot of support throughout the years, you also have an air of confidence about you and what you do. Like you know that you know what you're doing, and you know what you know. So and people can see that from how you speak and how you handle yourself. And I think that's definitely an inspiration for a lot of young people that maybe even want to be in the health field or any other kind of field where it's dominated by adults that have been in the fields for a long time, just to be confident in what you've learned and continue to learn and to keep growing, and never to get too full of yourself, but to still have confidence in who you are. But you definitely represent that really well, and it is really good that you've had good support throughout your years and in health and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that just having the confidence about what you're trying to share is really important, especially as a young person. I think that as long as you're not bragging about it or stuff like that, and you're really there to help it, then I feel like for me, while it's great to be distinguished as a young person, I want to still be appreciated in the field as anyone else, because whoever is helping, and no matter how big or small, is making a difference. So I think that's what's really cool, and definitely just believing in what I've been doing and what I want to do fully has helped so much to get where I am now.
That's really cool. So I know, as I'm looking here, your mission is to inspire a healthier generation, right? Through plant-based education and things like that, right? Make sure I have that right. Okay, and so something I strongly believe in is that yes, health has to do with nutrition, but it also has to do with mental, like your mental health, and those two things often do tie together. You talk to kids, you talk to teenagers, and I think a big thing with teenagers, especially now, is that we have sort of an issue with nutrition, with food, whether we eat too much or we eat too little, and because kind of I would say because of society and kind of how heavy the pressures are and the expectations are, we kind of tend to look at food as an enemy at this point. So what would you say to a young person that is struggling with food, whatever in whatever way? What kind of advice, or let's say, what is like the most important thing that that someone should understand about food in order to help them to have a mentally healthy outlook on nutrition, and a mentally healthy outlook on food itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that is plaguing, especially teenagers, just not really understanding what to eat. And of course, I think, that has a huge thing to deal with how food and nutrition has been portrayed through the media and from even other nutritionists. Just every day it's something different. Low fat is great, and now it's not, and this and that, and now you should eat like 10 pounds of red meat to be healthy. So it just always changes. And so for me, one thing that I've really found is just to stick to what you know. And there's one thing that vegetables can never, not be good for you. And I think the one thing about eating like a whole foods, plant-based diet is just knowing that literally whatever you're putting into your mouth is good for you, no matter the calories, no matter what. If it has, and it's rich in vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and you know that you're doing it right. And I think just being able to enjoy that entire process is so important. So oftentimes in our classes, even with younger kids, we don't talk about counting calories or anything like that, because I think that's where it gets the most dangerous, is just being hyper aware of those things and nitpicking at everything. And so we just try to push that if you know that you're putting quality ingredients into your body and you're consuming those things, then you're doing yourself justice and you're going to be okay. And if you're balancing things out with exercise, or you're making sure that a great diet is 95% of what you're eating, and then you can eat whatever for the other 5%, like just definitely making your environment mainly a healthy one, and having those options is really important. And just to know that if you are eating quality and real good food, then you're fine. You don't have to think about how much fat this and how much that, as long as you know that those things are serving your body good. Now, if you're eating like 10 bags of chips and a bunch of cookies and Oreos and milkshakes, whatever, then I would be concerned. But I think if you know that you're fueling your body with the right things, then that should be just the main concern.
How important do you think is like self-awareness and discipline in this kind of process?
I think, even for me, sometimes I struggle with, like, I'm a health advocate. I need to make sure that I'm on top of this all the time. And it's not sustainable to be on top of something every single day and all the time and in every situation. And I think I've learned that I definitely could tone it down a little bit and just be aware of what's going on and be aware of how much of what I'm consuming. And again, just knowing that like one day out of 365 isn't going to hurt me, or just making sure that, again, the majority of what I'm eating is good and what I'm doing is good, then it's fine. And I think just being aware and always conscious of still what's in your food, even if it's a slice of cheesecake, where has that come from? What type of quality is it? And I think just always paying attention to those things and making sure that you're still thinking positively about yourself during that whole process, whether you're eating a salad or eating a piece of cake, knowing that it's all good is important.
So I do think that is kind of important, where we do kind of get a little too consumed with it all and like trying to be perfect and trying to eat everything right and all of those different things. And I think I would say, like with me, when I'm trying to work with, before, when I was younger, I was trying to work with my health because I was obese a bit, and I mean I wasn't like majorly obese or anything. It was really bordering on the edge of super unhealthy. So I had to cut back and I had to get healthier and eat healthier and exercise more. But throughout that process, what was happening was that I was focusing too much on food and focusing too much on making sure that I was healthy and kind of putting aside all the rest of the happiness in my life just to kind of focus on all these different things. And I do know that a lot of my self-worth was kind of depleted in that area because I was like, okay, I'm not as healthy as I want to be right now. I have to no more sweets for the rest of this week because I didn't exercise today and this, that, and the other. And I think that it is important to have some kind of balance so that you don't, lose self-worth in areas and that you don't criticize yourself too much when you do that. And I think that's actually a really good thing when it comes to you with Happy and what you're doing with this organization, because you're giving these young people and even adults, you're giving them this insight and this way of looking at food and looking at their lives where it's not just technical, right? It's about also having fun. It's also about being happy and enjoying what it is that you're doing. And I think that's just such an important outlook that needs to be put on food, because it's basically a chore at this point for a lot of people to eat healthy and to really eat often. It's like a chore, like you have to eat today or whatever it is. And I think it is important to have that shift. And I think I think that's really, really cool, what you're doing and how you're putting this outlook for people to see what food is and why it's important and how it can be very beneficial to them in a good way. So yeah.
And like you said, I think it's just realizing that a lot of people just feel like they have to do it, but it's not. I mean, you do have to, but at the same time, it's not just because it's because you want to, live for a long time. You want to have energy and vitality. You don't want to get sick. So having all of those things and a reason behind it rather than feeling like it's a push and knowing that, it's going towards a better life and in the end is really important. And of course to make that process fun and engaging and definitely not bland, So I would totally agree on that.
So I want to talk a little bit about your youth activism and things that you do health youth activism. I want to talk a little bit about that. I know you just came back from, the Variety Magazine Power of Women Awards luncheon. You were introducing Chelsea Clinton there, and then you also you were being honored at We Day in New York a little bit ago. This was all like maybe in last month or so, right? That's incredible.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago was We Day, and then the Variety thing was this past Friday. Yeah.
So I know you're on a few different boards and things like that for youth and or for health for youth and things like that. So I wanted to get a little more information about that and kind of learn about what it is that you do for youth in that way and help in that way.
Yeah. Well, for the Variety thing, I was introducing Chelsea Clinton because of her work with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and so me being on the board when I was like 10 to 12.
3 years, right?
Yeah, so being on the board for a few years and having that experience and them really being like the foundation for me, getting to introduce Chelsea for her work with them was really, really awesome and so special. And the entire event was amazing. Just seeing celebrities using their platforms to advocate for something important, and it was really awesome. And I'm pretty sure all of them, all of the causes that they were campaigning for, or, representing were in some way affecting youth and helping youth. So I really found that to be interesting. But it was a lot of fun and just really an honor for me to be there. And then for We Day, I was honoring my work with Happy, and we got a $10,000 donation for our summer camp. So that's always great. And that was really great. But for working with youth outside of food, usually it's just trying to help them find and tune into their authentic leadership. And I think, that's something that in a way can get really lost when you're trying to figure out what you want to do, and there's so many people to look up to, and there's so many different, techniques and strategies. It's hard to kind of find your own footing. And I think for me, luckily, I've had parents and support that always say, like, being yourself is the best thing you can be, and that type of thing. But a lot of people, they just want to do something and not sure how, especially kids. Again, you're just absorbing all of these different ways to become successful, and some can be, totally crazy, like off of social media videos or memes, or then there's people who, work at it for years, and all these different examples. So what I usually do are a lot of workshops and talks at, whether it's leadership groups or at schools or universities. So I've done a lot of those, and our organization has a little, I guess, program section called Put Your Passion in Action. And basically we just talk about, really, it's important to tune into what you love to do, and then find a way to put your own unique twist on it, and to think about your action steps. And I think oftentimes it's just the little push that a lot of young people need to figure out what they want to do, and again, develop that in an authentic way, so that, when you're unique in your approach, you'll stand out even more, and that helps to spread whatever message you're trying to get across. So yeah, that's usually, what I do in terms of the youth empowerment aspect, just helping shape that, or start other people's missions.
That's really good. And I mean that does kind of really tie into what the UV effect really is about anyway, being able to see what it is that you can bring, and how you can make it unique, how you can make it you, but also have that value. And I think you and what you're doing is definitely, you do embody the UV effect. That's why I wanted you to be on the show, because, the things that you're doing, it's directly affecting basically the people that you meet, and the people that you're working with, the young people that you are talking to. It's directly affecting people every single day. And I think that is that big piece of the UV effect, is that effect that you have, that positive effect that people should have on other people's lives when they're using what it is that makes them special, when they're taking part and putting their unique value out in the world. It should positively affect people, and positively affect others. And that's what you're doing, and that's why I was so happy to have you on and to talk to you about what you're doing with your company, and what you're doing for youth and adults, and helping people to understand the importance of health and nutrition, and helping people to kind of change their mindsets and get into that. I think it's really incredible.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think what's really cool is that health ties into even being an awesome entrepreneur or speaker, because you're getting all of that energy and vitality from what you eat. So it's really cool to have found this blend. And, starting with my dad, I really never thought I would become an entrepreneur. That wasn't the goal initially, but I think it's cool that I'm able to do that with a purpose behind it. And like yourself, you started a business, but you're creating something that's a toolkit for others and other young people, and to see examples and to display those is really amazing. So thank you, for having me and being that platform to eventually, inspire other young people to be in my position, being interviewed by you, or starting a business and then realizing, like, hey, I can share this information with others. So that's really cool. But I'm glad that things have turned out the way they have, and it's very weird that I'm happy that he got, his type 2 diabetes, and obviously I'm happy that we reversed it, but in a very weird and strange way, that was the way that I discovered what I love to do. So yeah, it's a good thing in a weird way, but at least everything worked out, and everybody's happy and healthy now.
I mean, it is really true. I mean, in the sense that it's odd that, with those things that kind of happen in our lives that seem, that they're terrible and they are scary and you don't really want them to happen, but it happens, and then there's this moment when you get through it and you do something with that. It's like, oh, I'm actually kind of happy that happened.
Yeah.
And it is strange, but I think, as you said, it's what helped you to discover what it is that you wanted to do and what you could do for other people. And that is really what the UV effect is when it comes to leading up to that, finding what that is taking those things, the little pieces in your life and the things that you never expected to happen, things that have happened, and forming them. They all kind of form together to find what your purpose is. It kind of forms together to create what you're going to do. And because with a lot of people, they'll miss out on that. They won't really see that side. They won't really see little pieces forming together. But what you did is you saw those things, you saw what happened, and you saw what you could do with it. And I think that is incredible. So before we close out, I did want to ask if there's anything else that you want to share, any upcoming projects or programs, anything new happening.
There's always stuff going on, but as I mentioned before, we're gearing up for our summer camp this year, and we're really excited about that. This year we'll be doing 100 kids, which is a record and extremely huge upgrade from our normal 25 that we do at a time. And so having now 100 kids is really, really exciting. So that we're looking forward to. We'll be in Jamaica in the next few weeks, and I'm so excited about that. I'll be creating and developing a menu for Negril school kids at a health festival called Tomorrow Today, and so I'm really, really excited about that. It'll be my first time down there, and I'm really happy I can go there with purpose. So that's going to be really fun. I'm also working on a cooking show. A few different things, but one is on YouTube that's developing, and I'm sure I'll be able to talk a lot more about it. I honestly don't know how much I'm supposed to say about that, so I'll leave it at that, but I'm really excited about that as well, and just kind of refining my channel and what it is and displaying it in a new and different way. But there's just always program development and stuff like that, which is, always a huge win when that gets accomplished. So just working on those things, and I definitely would love you on the cooking show. That would be so fun.
I actually love to cook, so that'd be so amazing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So we're actually gathering up all of my friends and people who really want to be on the show, so that would be awesome to have you. And surprisingly, everybody I've asked so far loves to cook too, so that's really good. But that's what's in the works.
I will make sure to have the links to your YouTube channel, your website, all your social media down below, so you guys can check that out and see what's going on. I definitely recommend you look up more about her, see how you can, I don't know, be a part of this, or in the sense of, I've seen on your site you have some programs or things coming out, like ebooks, and you have ebooks and stuff, and so definitely check out her site, see what she has there, and see how you can get healthier. Check out her YouTube. She just did, I actually just watched a video today where you made gluten-free prosciutto, was it, or was it like? Oh yeah, it was faux prosciutto. So it was, I soaked rice paper wrappers and in this brine of spices, and somehow it tasted like prosciutto. So I just think
it's a really cool recipe.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And looking at a lot of your recipes on your site and then on your YouTube channel, a lot of it's just very fun, and I just love that about what you're creating and the recipes and the products that you make. It's very fun, so I recommend that you check out her YouTube channel, because you'll have fun trying to try out these new recipes and these new things that you may have never actually thought of before. Because I never thought about making gluten-free or faux prosciutto. I would have never thought of that, and that's really, really cool. So thank you again, Haile, for joining me. This was so great.
Oh, thank you for having me. Like I said, super inspiring podcast, and any way that I can help anyone, discover their unique value or find their authentic leadership is just such a great opportunity. So thank you, and thank you for creating this genius podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of The UV Effect.
If you like what you heard, be sure to share and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Gabrielle Jordan Inspires. Also, be sure to subscribe to the UV Effect podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitchers. And I will talk to you next week. See you then.